Oh, now, one thing we could never disagree on is our united love for Barbara Windsor. Many of us woke up to the sad news this morning that showbiz legend, soap star and carry-on queen Dame Barbara Windsor died yesterday, aged 83. She will be missed by absolutely everyone, and we couldn't pay tribute to her today without our Jane, who's been a close friend of Barbara's for over 30 years. Now, she was a true national treasure, wasn't she, Jane?
She was indeed. I think that phrase was coined exactly for her, and I still can't quite believe that she's gone. I mean, even though obviously I knew about her diagnosis and I knew that towards the end she was very ill, it's just the weirdest feeling. And I think because there's so much running footage across television, you know, that just makes her look so sort of vibrant and alive, it's just really, really hard to accept that she has gone.
And her husband Scott wrote a beautiful tribute to her, which I think summed up what many people will be feeling right now. People who never actually met her in person, but obviously loved her on the TV, loved her in her films. Briefly, this is just part of it. Myself, her family and friends will remember Barbara with love, a smile and affection for the many years of her love, fun, friendship and brightness she brought to all our lives and the entertainment she gave to so many thousands of others during her career. Barbara's final weeks were typical of how she lived her life, full of humour, drama and fighting spirit to the end. It wasn't the ending Barbara or anyone else living with this very cruel disease deserve. May you rest in peace now, my precious Bar. I've lost my wife, my best friend and soulmate, and my heart or life will never feel the same without you. Jane, you've been in touch with Scott. How is he?
Well, I don't want to sort of betray any confidences, but I think the word heartbroken probably sums it up. I mean, he moved in, as everybody knows, that Barbara's neurologist said that she needed to go into a care home in August. So he was heartbroken then because he was sort of forced into that. He didn't really want to do it, but that's what she needed. And now he's heartbroken all over again. And last weekend he moved in. You know, the people working in care homes all across the country, you know, they're such incredible people, and they know there's a process to death, and they know when it's coming, and they can, you know, warn and prepare loved ones. And so, yeah, Scott, you know, took all the safety measures, and he moved in to the home last weekend, and he's been by her side the entire time and until she passed away on Thursday night.
Now, Jane, you knew about Barbara's illness well before the public did, and you went out with her shortly after it became public. And I think you had a fascinating insight into why it was decided that the public needed to know that Barbara was ill. Tell us about your trip to the theatre with her.
Yeah, I mean, she was diagnosed in 2012, and myself and a couple of a few other close friends knew about the diagnosis, but we were all asked by Scott to, you know, understandably keep it quiet because he wanted her to live her life to the best that she could without people knowing for as long as she could. And then eventually some of her, you know, repetition and things like that became apparent that he had to say something. So he did go public in 2018 with it. And he explained to me at the time, I don't want Barbara to become a prisoner. I want her to go out. I want her to carry on seeing people. You know, the British public are what she loves the most. And I don't want to deprive her of that, but I don't want people sort of looking at her in a strange way. Now, I understood that at the time, but I really understood it. So last year we went to see the stage concert of Les Mis at the London Palladium. And I took her backstage to see Matt Lucas and Michael Ball, which was amazing. And seeing them, you know, two such showbiz legends, they were so in awe of her. But anyway, in the interval, she suddenly said, I want to go to the loo. And it's one of those, you know, theatres that by the time we'd stood up, the queue was for the ladies was about 100 long. And every woman in that queue, they saw her and we kind of got propelled to the front in this sort of Mexican wave of love. It was amazing. Everyone knew about her diagnosis, and they propelled us to the front of that queue. And then when she came out of the cubicle, somebody washed her hands, somebody else dried her hands, somebody else helped her up the steps to the exit. It was absolutely incredible to see. She was like the Queen.
And I think that's such a beautiful, beautiful story, because obviously there's so much sadness today at her passing, but also so much joy and love, and people remembering her. I mean, Carol, you're a huge fan of Carry On. You love Barbara.
But not many people, many show business people, sort of attract that kind of attention and adoration from the public, and she was one of those people. And I didn't know her as well as Jane did, obviously, but I felt like I did. And I've met her quite a few times, and when she came on the show here in 2010, like 10 years ago, I mean, it took 10 years to get her on there because EastEnders wouldn't let her come on. So when she left, and she did an interview about leaving and about the Queen Vic burning down, and how she didn't want to leave, like not being able to come back. Not that she wanted to go back, but she didn't want to be killed off. And I mean, she was just so unbelievable. I really missed her in EastEnders, and I do watch the Carry On films. I always do, and I just think she's absolutely brilliant and will be missed, and not only by me, by everybody. But you were in EastEnders with her, weren't you?
I was actually, but I met her about 6 months before I went into it, and so she was really lovely and welcoming when I went in. I mean, she always made me laugh, and the fact that, and actually that story you were just telling there, Jane, reminds me of, because we'd all go out together in EastEnders. Oh, I remember that day. That's when she taught me a showbiz trick, which is, listen, sweetheart, if the sun's getting in your eyes, close your eyes, look at the sun, and then you can look straight into camera and you won't squint. She was always giving out her bits of advice. But, oh, bless her. But that what Jane was just saying there, when we used to go out as a group in EastEnders, she was kind of like that. She would be right at the front of the queue, you know, we'd go out for a meal, then we'd go somewhere else, and then she'd go, right, come on, everyone, we're going to a club, and we'd all, like, be running behind her. And I remember she'd always get to the doors of the club, and she'd stand with the security men, and she'd go, frisk me, and they'd go, and it just, but I'd never seen fame like it. I mean, you know, all those regular EastEnders were hugely famous, but there was something different about Barbara, and she was such a straight talker. That's what I loved about her. And Kay, you'll remember this. We'd come to ITV. I'd left EastEnders, and we'd come to watch an audience with Tom Jones, and she spotted me with lovely Scott, who I'm just heartbroken for today because he's just. Those two just adored each other. And she, as usual, you know, walked right across the bar. Nadia flung her arms around me. She went, I've been watching you on that little show. Because it was new then, Loose Women. She goes, all those smart, intelligent women. And then there's you, sat on the end.
Oh, she had a point, though, didn't she?
Oh, you know, we just, from all of us, send all our love to Scott and to Barbara's family as well. And thank you, Jane, for coming to join us today and tell us all your close insight into Barbara. Thanks for joining us today. It's weird, actually, to have Jane down the line and not in here.